What I study as a field of study is something I refer to as the 10-year curve. I study things that are not today and not tomorrow, but cultivating over a period of time that we refer to as a 10-year curve. We actually look backwards to see where things are going in the future, and you can make very accurate predictions if you spend enough time looking at what happened in the past. So if you look at these statistics, it's really interesting. These are US-based statistics. In the 1950s, about 10% of the people in the United States had this thing called a television set. In 10 years, almost everybody had a television set. We rounded it out in the next 10-ish years to the point where almost everyone on the planet, with very few exceptions, had a television. Now, especially for some of those young kids in college that are sitting over there, can you imagine a day, because it is coming, when you will live inside a house, be inside work environments, where you will have no need for a television, for something like this, or this that I'm looking at, or all the computers, anything that we refer to as a television. Who can imagine that? I can very clearly imagine it, and that's kind of what I'm working on right now, is where is this going? Are we at the last age of what we call physical displays? So we know YouTube, right? This is the very, very first YouTube video. This was about 10 years ago. Now, I don't know if anybody could have predicted that this would have created a media revolution. This is the study of 10 years at a time. So, started in 1997 by two guys literally working in an apartment. 10 years later, they shipped 1 billion DVD. They didn't call their company Mailflix, even though they were mailing DVDs. They called their company Netflix, because they thought at some point along that curve that we would have the need for physical media would diminish to the point where it would almost go away and then completely go away. 10 years later, we have 100, now I think we're about 130 million subscribers of this service. And it is a force to be reckoned with in the entertainment business. So this is a device called the Mix. This very interesting company called AntVR, which just raises money on Kickstarter. It's a little different than how Magic Leap has raised $2.6 billion to achieve the objective. These guys have raised significantly less than $2.6 billion. But they have an interesting device that has a very, very wide field of view and attaches to Steam. And I've tested it a few times. That's me wearing it. It's really interesting. Keep a close eye on this. There's another company called Nreal that a lot of people know about yet, Chinese company. It's building extremely small, extremely lightweight, wearable devices. These things are coming. That's a prototype that's actually a working device. It's almost the size of your glasses now. And remember, we're only 2018, so imagine where we're going to be in 5 years when they keep working on this stuff. This is curving into the right side of the equation. We're getting there. This is the kind of thing you're going to want to buy, not the box on the face. All right, so as we wrap up, I drew this little cartoon because when I was in Shanghai, I was in one of these conferences and there was no translation, so I had to stay awake, so I was drawing. And I drew this little thing and people liked it. This kind of sums up what I just talked about for the last hour. This is industry transformation. In a nutshell, this is what happens, right? At the beginnings of entertainment, we realized we could put images up on a screen. And we asked people to go to the place. That was the movies. That still continues to be a very large, important business, but shrinking. The next wave is we brought here to you. We could give you an experience in your home that was like a movie, but you didn't have to go to the movies. The next wave is we brought here to you, with you, but it was tiny. It's a little thing. Right? We have to mash it up against our face to try and pretend it's big. The next wave is that here is everywhere. When you have a device that you can put on your face that will simulate what you want, when you want it, at the scale you want it, that is a massive sea change. Massive. When it gets right enough to wear it, if I wanted to, I could make the whole back wall of that a movie theater. And that would be a very simple implementation. I could also make this whole room into a giant entertainment experience. And it wouldn't feel small. It would feel gigantic because I mashed it up against my face and I got my arms free. We don't have time to talk about this today, but no futurist would be complete without studying robotics. I do a lot of study around robotics. The only thing I would recommend that you check out is something called the ROS. It stands for the Robot Operating System. There is actually a robot operating system that a company that made a robot decided, because every time people make a new robot, they have to build an operating system from scratch. They're like, well, we don't do that with computers. We have Windows, and we have Mac, and we have Linux. So they kind of made the Linux of robot. And now you can build a robot from scratch like that. Which, by the way, brings up all kinds of issues today. So just be prepared. This is a whole other talk for another day. Some books. If you still like to do the original virtual reality medium, called reading a book, these are 3 of my favorite books. If you're interested in what we're doing to ourselves as people, and the technology surrounding it, read a book called Future Crimes by an author named Mark Goodman. This is a fascinating study. It's one of the most compelling books I've read in recent memory. If you're interested in doing what I do for a living, this is our Bible. Read a book called The Innovator's Dilemma. And if you work in a creative business that is struggling in some way, shape, or form, read Creativity Inc. Every single human that works in the entertainment business should read Creativity Inc. It's Ed Catmull's book, one of the guys that created Pixar. These are like a little mini library of innovation and humanity.